Welcome to TV3. I'm TV3, your host, and on this week's episode, we've got a double dose of metal, a pair of winning chicks, I bought a brand new Bumblebee, and of course, we'll round out the episode by answering some of your comments and questions in the feedback section. As always, if you ever want to introduce a future episode of TV3, you can always do so by sending in your videos to my email address over at type3@gmail.com. With that out of the way, let's get this show started. Alright, so the news this week kicks off with a small little tease from Bandai regarding the next entry into their highly popular Metal Build series. They have one image proclaiming to come out for a full reveal on July the 14th, and it is none other than the Metal Build 00 Quanta, which I suppose isn't too big of a surprise considering the Exia and the 00 Riser were hugely popular, and I do believe at some point in the past they have hinted at this, so I'm sure it's going to be an amazing figure when it gets its full release. You can also be sure that eventually at some sort of convention, be it Tamashii Nations or a Wonder Festival or something or another, there will probably be an all-red Trans Am version of this that's going to be stupidly expensive as well. So for all you Metal Build fans, especially the 00 ones, here you go. It's the next in the series, and I imagine you're all buying like 3 of them. One to display, one to keep in the box, and one to just fly around like a true little toy. Sticking on the subject of teases, a couple weekends ago was Anime Expo, and Good Smile Company were there, and they brought with them a pair of new figures to tease. Unfortunately, you were not allowed to photograph them or take videos of them in any way, but I believe they had prototypes of Figma Genji and Nendoroid Mercy from Overwatch. Now, a couple days later, the Good Smile Instagram account and their social media feeds eventually revealed one of them, and that was Nendoroid Mercy. We have this one solo image, and hey, it's Mercy. If the character didn't look cute to begin with, she looks way cuter now, and she's the third release that follows along from Tracer and May, and Mercy is actually the last known Overwatch Nendoroid that we know up to this point. So here on forward, if there are any more Nendoroids, we don't know what they are. Personally, I would love to see a Nendoroid Reinhardt. I think that would be pretty adorable. Obviously, I would like to see a D.Va with her mecha, but this Mercy looks pretty cool, and like with the rest of Good Smile's Overwatch offerings, you can be sure that I'm going to purchase them all. Speaking of spending huge amounts of money on Overwatch, the next entry into Blizzard's Overwatch statue series has been revealed, and it is none other than my girl, D.Va. But it's not just D.Va, it's D.Va plus her mecha, and she's in the sitting victory pose here, and it looks glorious. I mean, if you are a D.Va Overwatch fan, this is probably the centerpiece display item out there at the moment. There's nothing else that's better. I mean, it puts my tiny little pop to shame. You can bet I really, really want this. However, the Overwatch statues have been a little pricey. Well, maybe not a little pricey. They're pretty pricey for what they are. And this Overwatch statue of D.Va, which, make no mistake, is going to be huge, stands above the 18-inch mark. It's going to be 450 freedom dollars. And by that I mean 450 American dollars, which in maple syrup money is about $1 billion. So I don't make that much money in a year. I don't know how I can afford that. So if anyone wants to just send me one of these, that would be great. Maybe I should start a GoFundMe to get one of these. I super want it, but I just can't justify that price. It's insane, and it bums me out that I'm not gonna be, going for this. But maybe, who knows, one day if I win the lottery, then of course. But otherwise, it looks like a gorgeous piece that I will unfortunately just have to admire from afar. Alright, let's switch things over onto Bandai, and they have revealed their latest in the High Metal R series, specifically the Macross series, and no, it is not from the original SDF, it is from Macross 2. It is the VF2 SS with the SAP pack, and this was kind of from left field. It's kind of amazing and totally caught me off guard. I remember they showed prototypes for this either a year or two ago, but I didn't believe it was going to happen, but yet here it is. It's going to be 14,000 yen, which is kind of pricey for what it is, admittedly. And it looks really cool. Now, Macross 2 is very interesting in that it is the solo Macross series that had no involvement from series creator Shoji Kawamori, so for a lot of the fan base, it is the Macross series that they all tend to ignore, the one that no one really cares about, myself included. However, I will admit that the VF2 is actually one of my favorite Valkyrie designs in all of Macross. I think it was a great update as a cool successor to the original VF1, and even compared against today's more modern releases like the 31 or even the 25, I still think the VF2 looks more futuristic and way cooler than anything that is involved in current Macross to date. Maybe that's a controversial statement, but that's how I feel. And in any case, this figure looks cool. My only hope for it, the only thing I wish for it, is that it can do a perfect transformation with no parts forming. My hopes for that are low, but considering it is a brand new mold, a brand new toy, you never know, it might be able to do it. So I'm excited to see this. I can't wait to get my hands on one. Unfortunately, I missed the pre-order because I wasn't around when they went up. So it looks like I'll be hunting the aftermarket for this at a bit of an inflated price, but that's okay. Anything's worth it for my love of Macross. And finally, we have the only piece of Gundam news that I feel is worth mentioning this week, and it is, of course, winning Fumina. That's right, she's been fully revealed. If you remember a couple weeks ago, I mentioned that there was a tease for winning Fumina, and I said that this would be the Gundam of the year. I feel like I say that every time a new Fumina is revealed, and this one looks even cooler than I thought it could ever be. First of all, you're going to get a pretty much let's say, a naked version of Super Fumina, so one without the armor. She's basically just wearing shorts and a top, which is fine, but she gets armor pieces in the form of a variant of her winning Gundam, which is really cool. So you could either have the armor as on top of Fumina, or you could take the armor off and it'll become its own SD version of the winning Gundam. And it's just a really cool idea. I can't believe it's taken so long for this idea to happen. I have no doubt that we're going to see more of this kind of stuff going forward. I mean, it would be really cool if we got like a bear guy plus Kosaka. That would be a really neat combination, or at least one where the armor comes off and you're able to do that. So this is really cool. My favorite bit about this is that all the star winning parts come off and become a giant sword for Fumina to wield. I mean, who doesn't love a giant sword, especially when it's formed from all the weapons of your Gundam? I mean, that's such a cool idea. Again, I stand behind my statement. It's going to be Gundam of the year. Make no mistake. You heard it here first. When December rolls around and I make that top whatever toys of the year, this is going to be number one. Yeah. Can you tell I'm excited for it? Because I super am. I can't wait for, I suppose, what is it, a September release? Yes, can't wait for September to come around so I can buy 8 of these and do whatever I want with them. Alright, so this week I managed to pick up one toy, and it's one that I have been super pumped to get, and I just happened to find it right before recording this very episode, because I went to Toys R Us, and standing in front of me were a whole shelf full of the Transformers movie masterpiece, Bumblebee. This is, of course, the masterpiece Bumblebee based upon the '07 movie Bumblebee. I can't believe it, like, it's here. I've been wanting nothing more than masterpiece figures of the movie designs, and they're finally happening. Bumblebee's first, I believe Optimus is next, and then hopefully Barricade, because I love Barricade. Barricade's the best part of the Transformers movies. And here it is. I'm pretty pumped. I haven't opened it yet, so you can expect that after I finish filming this episode, I'm going to go and just open this up and play with it and roll it around. Couple things, though, that I will say. Here in Canada, it is $130, which is really expensive. Even if you convert that to American bucks, that's still over $100, which is way too much for what this thing is. I don't know why it's so expensive. I was expecting this to be the same price as the Masterpiece cars from Takara Tomy, which are... let's see. Yeah, I believe this is the Takara Tomy one. And I believe this was less than 8 or 7,000 yen, which converts to about $80. So it's weird that this is so expensive, considering, you know, you're not getting that much more than the regular Masterpiece cars. But hey, what can you do? The other thing I will say is, as a car nut, as a car fan, and someone who is just a huge stickler for screen accuracy, this alt mode really gets me, like, gets my OCD levels pumping. Just It's the 2007 Chevrolet Camaro. But the thing is, in the movie, Bumblebee didn't actually use. He wasn't based off of the 2007 Camaro. He was based off of a Camaro concept, so one that you couldn't actually buy. This Camaro is the Camaro that a regular customer could go to a dealership and buy back in 2007. So it doesn't actually match the one in the movie, and I don't know why Hasbro would or Takara would go that route. Maybe it's a licensing issue, but I don't understand what it is. I would love to know the reasoning why they went that route. But in any case, I think that this toy looks cool. I do hope that eventually they do a slight remold of this where his body is actually the older 70s Camaro or 69 Camaro, because if I'm honest, movie Bumblebee, my favorite version of him was the one he first appeared in Transformers the movie, where it was that really rusted out Camaro. I feel like that is still, to me, the Bumblebee for movie design. So yeah, hopefully they do something like that in the future. Otherwise, this toy looks great. I cannot wait to see if it lives up to the hype. All right, let's answer some questions. Erwin wants to know, Type 3, I know you're a big Build Fighters fan, and if you are living in the same universe with them, what would be your main custom build kit? Well, my main kit, basically what I would make is a version of that recently revealed winning Fumina. However, instead of putting the winning Gundam parts on it, mine would be based around the Tryon 3, and I would paint it all gold, and I'd give her like bronze or red accents, and it would basically be a girl version of Gao Gaigar, so that's what I would have. Pixelman619, so Type V3, what is your favorite mecha? No restrictions to the answer from any series. I think pretty simply my favorite mecha is Gurren Lagann or Gurren Lagann, whatever you want to call it. Just the original version of him with maybe the wing pack, I don't know. However, when it comes to, I suppose, from a pure design sensibility, I would say Escaflowne definitely gives it a run for its money. I've always loved the look of Escaflowne. I mean, to this day, I'm still hoping for an Escaflowne toy worth owning. I don't have one yet, but Escaflowne has always been up there as one of my favorite just designs in terms of mecha or robot whatsoever. Kingdom Hearts fan 1346, how do you deal with figures that arrive damaged, and what shipping options do you usually use? So basically, when a figure arrives damaged or whatnot, I generally contact the seller, be it a big retailer or a private seller, and see what they can do to help me out first. If they can't help me out, then I try and go to the company and see if there's some sort of manufacturer's warranty. Now, a lot of this is tough to deal with, especially because I mostly deal and buy a lot of imported Japanese figures, and I buy them with the acceptance that if something's wrong with it, there's probably nothing I can do. I mean, that's just part of buying an import toy. A lot of the times, if something arrives broken, you really can't do anything about it, and it's the sucky part of the hobby that you kind of just have to deal with. I mean, you can definitely try, and sometimes the bigger outlets are able to help you out, but most of the time they can't. And if that's the case, well, you just have to suck it up and buy another one. I mean, that's just how the world works, right? Every now and then you'll get a lemon, and so just do whatever else you can to get another one. I don't know. What's the saying? We get lemons, make lemonade? No, you buy something else. I don't know. Something like that. Bailey Z. Kerr asks, I've noticed a lot of YouTubers and people in general just keep a lot of their kits in their boxes, and I was wondering why. I think if I ran out of display space, I'd end up selling kits rather than putting them away. Well, this is actually a really, really wide open question to answer. I mean, everyone has their own reasons, and I can't speak for everyone, but I think I can relate to some of a lot of YouTubers out there, at least. I mean, specifically a lot of the Gundam reviewers who definitely get every kit every month. I mean, they're receiving kits at an alarming rate, right? You're getting 2, 3, 4 kits a week, and it's just like, what do you do with them? And after you build them, you always have these plans like, well, maybe I want to paint this, maybe I want to use this for custom parts. And if that's the case, you're not really going to display. You might put it in your box and just stack it up somewhere else. Or you have this idea that maybe, I don't know, one day you want to build out a huge, nice toy display room, but you just don't have that option right now. And so in the meantime, what you're going to do is just keep it as storage. Obviously, ideally, every toy collector would love to have a whole room or some sort of space dedicated to their collection, but the reality is you just don't have that option. Now, I know that a lot of people could either just sell their stuff or get rid of it in some form or another, but again, sometimes, people just like, I'm going to say it, people just like to hoard their stuff. I mean, toy collecting is, for better or worse, a hoarding hobby, and depending on how you view that, well, it could be both a good or bad thing. I am not a great example. Look at me. I have a wall of boxes behind me. I mean, that's that's only there because I have nowhere else to put my boxes sometimes, and to be honest, I don't have a really great display scenario, so I keep a lot of things in the boxes. I'm also pretty crazy about keeping all the accessories with the right toys. It drives me nuts when I see people and they have like their whole little shelf or little like jewelry box case, and they just open up little compartments and there's like 50 hands in there. That drives me nuts because it's like, well, how do I know this hand came with this figure? And I know like you could always swap stuff out with other toys or whatnot, but yeah, I couldn't do that. So that's why I keep boxes, right? I keep all the stuff that belongs with this toy in their box, and that's kind of it. So yeah, my answer is a bit, there's no conclusive answer to that. Everyone has their own different scenario. They all have their own different choices and their own way that they like to collect. So it's just a personal thing at the end of the day. And hey, it's your toys, your money, your place. You do what you want, right? All right, the last question comes from Jetfire48, and he asks, Type V3, are you excited for the Gridman anime coming out by Trigger Studios? Yes, I am so pumped. So for all you guys who don't know, Trigger is the studio behind Kill la Kill, Little Witch Academia, Keys Niver, and before that, they were the creative team who put together Tenga Toppa Gurren Lagann, which is my favorite anime, and I've loved everything that this creative team have put together. I really have enjoyed all of what they've done. And Gridman, for those of you who don't know, here in the West was localized as Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad, and I love that show growing up. I mean, even though I would tell, if you asked me today what was my favorite show growing up, it would be Power Rangers. Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad was probably the closest thing to toppling that as a kid for me. So I have always loved that series, and so it's kind of just like, two of my favorite things in the world coming together and creating something amazing. I believe it was a couple years ago at an animation expo or exhibitor, one of the Trigger animators put together a short little film of Gridman, and it looked incredible. And I remember that the response to that was huge and positive, and everybody wished it was an anime. So maybe this whole thing was born out of that small idea, and I can't wait to see how it turns out. I mean, it's super exciting, and I'm definitely pumped for it. All right, there you have it. Another episode of TV3 over and done with. I hope you guys enjoyed it. As always, if there's anything you want to comment on or let me know about, or you just have an opinion that you want to get out there, feel free to leave it in the comment section below, and maybe I'll answer your question in an upcoming episode. Now, before we go, I will say that this weekend is, of course, the biggest Transformers fan-run convention. It is TFCon 2017. It's happening in Toronto this weekend. I'll be there. I hope to see you there, and if you do see me, make sure to say hi. And hey, who knows, maybe you'll be in an upcoming episode of TV3. Alright guys, see you this weekend.